My best friend is crazy and is ruining my wedding planning, but I'm scared that if I cut her off, she'll make it her life's mission to ruin my life. Posted by you/Bubbles1. Some background information about this girl. Let's call her Jess, 26F. At this point in her life, she's a bit of a hot mess. She's the type of person who shares everything on Facebook, has a new love of my life every month, and a new best friend every few months. Her relationships and friendships typically end badly, with both sides eventually hating each other. How did I, 27F, end up being her best friend? Well, she hasn't always been this way. When I met her 5 years ago, she was relatively normal, aside from the typical early 20s drama. But over the last 2 years, she's lost her mom to cancer and her grandpa to old age, and she doesn't have any other family. She dropped out of school and found out that her boyfriend at the time was cheating on her. After the breakup, I was there for her, acting as a shoulder to cry on, since she had pretty much hit rock bottom. A few months later, she started telling everyone how close we were and began tagging me as her best friend. A few months ago, I got engaged. Without my knowledge, Jess started telling people that she was my maid of honor, even though I've always planned to have my sister in that role. But since this happened shortly after Jess's mom passed away, I improvised and told her I would have 2 maids of honor. It wasn't what I wanted, but I couldn't bring myself to tell this poor girl that I didn't consider her my best friend. That was my first mistake. About a month after I got engaged, she met a guy. 2 weeks later, she was engaged. A week after that, she was married. A month later, she was divorced or separated. I'm not sure if it's legal yet. I don't even know if the marriage was legal. But she changed her last name and is still using it, so I'm guessing it was. Since her divorce, my own wedding planning has become unbearable. She constantly tells me how marriage doesn't work, love can't fix everything, and so on. She criticizes how much I'm spending on my wedding because she had hers for a few $100s, a Vegas wedding. It's gotten to the point where she's rude to the vendors I meet with, but she gets upset if I don't bring her along since she's the maid of honor. Now, I'm at the point where I want to cut her out of the wedding entirely, like I should have done from the beginning. However, when I shared this with a mutual friend, I was warned to be cautious because Jess can be very vindictive. For example, when she found out that her ex from a few years ago was getting married, she tried to contact the bride and claim he was cheating on her. He wasn't. One of her former best friends even lost her job because Jess created multiple email accounts and repeatedly contacted customer service with complaints about her. Since Jess already knows so much about my wedding, I'm terrified that she'll try to sabotage it if I remove her from the wedding party. At this point, I don't know what to do. I feel like this wedding is spiraling out of control, but I'm also unsure if it would be less painful to keep her involved just to avoid the drama. I'm genuinely worried about what she might do if I cut her out. Help. Commenter. To add, it might be a good idea to have passwords with your vendors to confirm your identity. Ops response. Thank you for the advice. I was actually considering the password thing, but I don't know if that's taking things too far. I guess I'm kind of worried about vendors resenting me for being high maintenance. But I hear about bridezillas, momzillas, and in-lawzillas all the time, so hopefully, this isn't the worst they've seen. Update 3 months later. Guys, this went completely crazy. Before I had the chance to talk to Jess, she confronted me. Apparently, the mutual friend I confided in let the whole story leak, and a twisted, more dramatic version made its way back to Jess. Cue disaster. I spent an hour or two trying to calmly explain to Jess that I felt she had overstepped her boundaries and that it was really taking a mental toll on me. Meanwhile, she yelled about what a terrible friend I was, how she's tired of trusting the wrong people, and how exhausting it's been trying to be a good maid of honor. I made the mistake of pointing out that I never actually asked her to be my maid of honor, to which she responded, "Well then, I must be delusional." The first step is admitting you have a problem, so, progress? Needless to say, we're not on speaking terms. Shortly after that, I followed your advice and called all my wedding vendors to let them know that only my fiancé and I would be making decisions going forward. I also set up a confirmation word with them. Apparently, this kind of thing happens often because none of them even asked why. I did accidentally forget to contact the bakery making our cake, but luckily, they called me to double check if I really wanted to cancel the wedding cake. Apparently, someone left a voicemail to cancel. Wonder who that could have been. And then things got even crazier. A few weeks after our blow-up, Jess apparently met some guy who's the love of her life. A few weeks after that, they're engaged. I swear, I can't make this up. She did it again. Then our mutual friends started receiving invitations to her wedding, which was set for the same date as mine. However, since many of them had already RSVP'd for my wedding, a lot of them couldn't attend hers. A few days before her wedding, it got cancelled because it turns out he's already married. And, surprise, so is she. Apparently, She never officially divorced her first husband from that quickie wedding. So, as far as I know, no wedding actually happened. I have no idea if they still plan to get married, but honestly, I'm just relieved to be far away from that drama. Anyway, I got married a few weeks ago. Everything was wonderful, the weather was perfect, and everyone who attended was a joy to be around, except maybe my uncle, who gets a little too dancy when he's drunk, but hey, family. Thank you to everyone who responded and to those who pointed out that going with the flow wasn't helping. I'll be much more cautious about making friends in the future, by running from crazy instead of trying to comfort it. Commenter. Anyone else think the mutual friend is kind of crappy? She was the one who told Op to be careful about Jess, yet she decided it would be a good idea to blab about what Op told her, fully knowing it would get back to Jess. Now, instead of telling Jess on her own terms, Op got ambushed instead. Op's response. I actually asked her about it a few days after the blow-up. Her defense was that she didn't actually tell Jess, she told another mutual friend of ours, who told someone else, who told someone else, who told Jess. So, technically, it wasn't her fault. By the time it got to Jess, the story had morphed into something along the lines of, OMG, Op is telling everyone you're ruining her life and sabotaging the wedding. All of us met at work, we all worked at the same restaurant long ago, and it was always a drama-filled place. A lot of the same people still work there and still thrive on the drama. I'm thinking it's time for me to move on from that specific crowd. We're at different points in our lives, and I just don't find gossiping all that fun. My real besties, from high school, who were all bridesmaids, have all grown up, and we would never pull this crap. Cliques are fun in middle school. In your 20s? Not so much. Commenter. I bet Jess was never actually getting married this time, it was just a plot to ensure that at least some of your friends didn't attend your wedding. Op's response. I suspect that as well, but since she's done it before, I wouldn't be surprised if she actually went through with it. I'm assuming they were both trying to get divorced before the wedding and realized they wouldn't be able to in time, because, you know, some things take time and can't be undone in a jiffy, so they couldn't do it. I get the feeling this guy is either really stupid or just as crazy as she is, so at least they found each other?